Now, TypeScript offers a new idea called interfaces, all right, which are different. Interfaces don't exist in JavaScript, all right, but they're related to objects. So remember, objects were just groups of properties. Let's kind of refresh your memory what that was like. So for example, if we did let person equals, then we had curly brackets, and then we had name, Jonathan, age, 38, quest, I don't know, whatever. So we had an object, right? So the person, right, was an object that had a name property, an age property, and a quest property, and whatever other property you wanted to have. This is part of object-oriented programming, all right? So we're going to go back to that OOP concept. We're going to learn a lot about it. Object-oriented programming, which is a style of programming. You also hear the word paradigm. Okay, so it's a way a strategy for tackling programming. It is not the only one out there. The other style is functional programming, okay, which we do not learn in this boot camp, but when we do React, you'll be kind of forced to do it a little bit. But for the most part, most places do object-oriented programming, which means that in your software, things are objects. So when you guys did your midterm projects, some of you were able to use object-oriented programming. For example, those of you who had products to sell, each product was its own object with its own properties. Now TypeScript obviously has objects because JavaScript has objects. The difference is that TypeScript has this thing called an interface. So we can do interface, person, okay? And then we basically say, here are the properties of a person. So for example, a person has a name, and the name is a string. A person has an age, which is a number. A person has a quest, which is a string. Is employee, which is a Boolean, for example. All right, so this is an interface. So you're wondering, well, Jonathan, what does interface have to do with an object? The interface says that any object that uses this interface must have these properties. So let's see what that actually means. So let's do let new person, which is of type person. So you're like, wait a second, Jonathan. We were just doing string and Boolean and number, and now you're telling me we can just make up our own type? We can just unilaterally say there's this new type called person, and here are its properties. Yes, you can just make up your own type. So JavaScript has some built-in types like Boolean and string, and then the rest they give you the option of just making up your own. So this variable new person is a person. Now we have red squiggly lines here, which means that TypeScript is angry with us because we have not appeased it. This is a person, okay? A person has this interface. It means this object must, M-U-S-T, must have values for these properties. So we're going to do name, okay, is I don't know, Nathan, and age is 25. See how the red's still staying there? I have to do all these properties. Quest is C to the magic rings. Okay, is employee is false. There you go. You see how this interface has a name? This object. Remember that this means object. So new person is an object. What kind of object is it? It's a person. Cool. What makes a person a person? These four properties. You must, M-U-S-T, this is TypeScript. It does not care about you. It follows the rules. You must have all four properties listed in its interface, and you must have values for them. Okay, you have to put something down. Okay, it would be a string or a number. Now, if you want more, so I don't know, has been to Disneyland. Okay, so you'll notice that it gets angry with you. Okay, so it's just sort of this property doesn't exist in person. What the heck is this, dude? Okay, these other properties exist in person. They're all on the list here. You added a new one. What's up? So the interface essentially gives you rules for what makes a person, no more, no less. You also have to have values. For example, I can't do like null here. Okay, you have to put a string. That string has to have some kind of value. Even if it's a blank string, it will accept blank string like this, but it still needs to be a string. So that means that whenever you're using this person interface, right, this right here, that there's a minimum amount of information you must provide the computer when you're making it. So that can be very, very useful, because that way all the programmers who are working with the program, if they ever use this interface, they all are following the same rules. Everyone must have all 4 properties. They cannot just make up properties out of the blue. So for example, in regular JavaScript, if we go to regular JavaScript world, I could have, for example, let car equals, and then we can do like make model, right? And then afterwards, I could do car.color equals blue. And that's fine. It wasn't in the original object that I made, but I could just be car.color equals blue. Car dot, I don't know, has surround sound equals false. This object in vanilla JavaScript is like whatever you want it to be. You can add properties. You can remove properties. You can set properties in the beginning and then later remove them, or later add new ones. Do what you want. When we go to TypeScript world, these are your properties, the end. These are their types, the end. Every time you use this interface, you must do this. So you can use these interfaces in functions. So for example, let's say I wanted to say hi to someone, right? I can do like function, say hi. It takes in the person of type person, okay, and does not return anything, void. And then I can do console.log, and then we can still use dot notation like a regular object, like person. Let's do the string interpolation, so backtick, $, backtick. So like, hello there. Person dot name. Okay, it works like a regular object with dot notation, okay, like any other object. It's just this code is safe, right? This code is safe because I know for a fact this variable person has a name, because the interface says it has a name, and I will not be able to run my program if this does not have a name. So I know that line 20 will not throw an error because I know for a fact the information that I am getting. That is the power of TypeScript. TypeScript basically says you know you're getting information and you know what type of information it is, so you can plan for it. With JavaScript, you don't necessarily know what type of information you're getting, and so you have to do a lot of hoop jumping to make certain errors don't occur. Now, for some projects, right, like if it's like a 1-2 man team, like a very small team of people, it's easy to have the discipline to not throw strings around where numbers should be thrown around. Okay, people can keep their discipline. For large teams, that's like super impossible. That just doesn't work. Like, I mean, I guess it's technically speaking if everyone were that disciplined, but like in the real world, that just doesn't work. TypeScript is a contract that basically everyone signs saying like we know like the information that we're throwing around the different functions, and when we're working with our project, we know what information we're getting and what kind of information we're getting, because it won't run if you break the rules. If you break any of the rules of TypeScript, your code will not run. That is the biggest mental leap from going from JavaScript to TypeScript, is that TypeScript will not let you run your code with an error. Okay, the end. All right, this is how you do interfaces. Remember interface and then the name of the interface. Okay, I just chose person. You can do mountain, dog, whatever. You have properties with their types. Okay, here's an example of using a person for a variable, and then here's like an example of passing into a function. Remember, you have to have these 4 properties. If I don't have all the requisite properties, you will get an error, and TypeScript will yell at you. All right, that's it for interfaces.